Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Kerbal Space Program. I think today in this little tutorial I'm going to talk about making a space plane, and I'm not gonna do an actual space capable plane just yet. I think this one will just kind of be just your standard how to build a space plane that can fly around in the atmosphere. So let's get going here. If you joined us last time, we planned a little trip to Duna. We landed on the surface and got back home again. Alright, so now we're going to be focusing mainly on Kerbin, and this time we're going to go to the spaceplane hangar over here. The new building we haven't used yet. Alright, so when we build spaceplanes, we're not going to obviously use these command pods. These are meant for spaceships. We're going to either use the Mark 1 cockpit, which has 1 crew capacity. The Mark II cockpit also has 1 crew. And the Mark III cockpit, crew capacity 3. This is kind of like if you wanted to make the space shuttle or something similar to that. The only difference between Mark II and Mark I is that with Mark II you get a little more room for customization. You could put a couple things on the nose cone there. But I think this time we'll just pick the basic Mark I cockpit over here. So there it is. Alright, a couple things we definitely want with our space plane is SAS. Don't want to forget about that, because when you're flying a plane up there, it's going to be a pain in the butt to keep the thing stable, so you're going to need something to stabilize it for you. Alright, next thing we're going to come over to propulsion over here, and we're not going to use, any kind of tank with rocket fuel like that. And you can tell if it's rocket fuel because it has both liquid fuel and oxidizer, and so we don't want that. We just want this Mark I fuselage here with just regular liquid fuel, and this one just kind of has jet fuel in it. So we'll just pop that on there, and I think we'll alt-click and get 2 of them. Just seems to work out better if you have 2 on there. And I think since we're just going to build a very basic small craft, I think we're just going to use our basic jet engine here. So if you take a look, it's got it's a max thrust of 150, and if you look at the engine ISP, the specific impulse, 2,000 in an atmosphere. So these jet engines are very fuel efficient. They barely use any fuel at all. All right. So there we are. Next thing we should probably add are the wings. Come to aerodynamics here, and I think we'll grab these delta wings. So I'll press the X key and get 2 of them, and I'm going to just kind of position these towards the rear of the craft here, just like that. Alright, now a couple important things when you're building space planes. You want to toggle these center of mass, center of lift, center of thrust. These are very important to pay attention to in space planes. You're always going to want your center of lift here, that blue one, to be behind the center of mass, the yellow and black one there. If your center of lift is ever straight on the center of mass or in front of it, it's no good. The plane's going to flip upwards and it's not going to be good. The next thing you're going to want to look at is the center of thrust. You're going to want to make sure that that purple center of thrust goes right through the yellow and black center of mass ball. If that center of thrust is off at all, again, the space plane won't be stable and you'll kind of flip out. Alright, so let's come over here and let's grab a winglet. I'm going to use the deluxe winglet because it already has a little whatchamacallit, like a control surface built into it already. So I'm just going to go into 1 symmetry, and let's see what happens to our center of lift when we put it on there. You can see that as we move it on, or move it around, it kind of moves the center of lift around. So we're just going to want to put this towards the back, right about there. So it's just a very basic little plane here. It's not going to be space capable, but it'll be quick, it'll be small and fast. We will zip around the atmosphere in here. Alright. The next thing we should always throw in the front our little winglets, and the reason for this, we want to have control surfaces behind the center of mass, and we also want them in front of the center of mass. So that's why we put them up in the front here. And we may need to adjust those around a little bit, but we'll see how we go. I almost forgot. Speaking of control surfaces, we want to grab a couple of these to put on these back wings. Now you're going to have to hit the D key and flip them around. Just kind of attach them like that. So what that's going to do is allow us to really control the ship a little bit better. Okay, let's see. And like I said, I just might move these back a little bit because they're a little far forward. We can afford to do it. Alright, I'm going to come over here to utilities, and I'm going to just grab a ladder. This mobility enhancer here. And again, you might need to hit the D key to swivel it around. I just might also hit Shift Q just to angle it. This way our Kerbalnaut can get off the ship and back in again if he wants to. Alright. Let's see. What else do we need? We should probably... Wheels, that's right, wheels. So let's come over here, and here they are. So we'll put a set of wheels in the front. I always like to swivel it around so that the part that extends down is facing the front, in the front, if that makes any sense. So we don't really want it, like that. I think it's a stability thing. We want it like this. Okay. And next we're going to come over and grab this another set of gears. And we're just going to... I'm hitting the E key just to swivel it around here. And we're going to want to position these on the back of the craft like that. And we may need to adjust them. Every once in a while, some kind of weird thing happens with, and I think it has to do with the wheels, where when you go to take off, the ship just flips out. So we'll see. Now, okay, so contrary to these front wheels, these back ones, it should be lifting out from the back. So you can see it's about the opposite of the front wheel. Again, stability reasons. Alright, we've got the wings, we've got the fuel, the SAS. I'm just trying to think if we need anything else. You know, if you were playing, let's say you were playing career mode, you could grab a comm satellite and slap that on there so you can communicate. Ah, I know what I'm forgetting. We should put some batteries on here. So let's see. We'll come over here. Just put a set of batteries in the back. You don't really have to go too crazy with these batteries. And just some basic solar panels, because we're going to want to keep this thing powered. Just kind of run them across like that. And maybe if you wanted, stick some down here. Up to you. That would be more important if this was going into space. You could put the panels down there. And again, if you were playing the career mode, you could put all kinds of things on here. You could put your mystery goo over here. You could even attach the Science Juniors to it, and all kinds of little experiments for extra science. Okay, let's see. What should we name this thing? We'll name this thing. Let's see. Oh, I don't know. We'll just use like the X. Call it the Jupiter X1 for experimental. Another thing you can do here is if you right click these back ones here, now these are specifically going to be used for pitch and roll, so we're going to disable the yaw on them, and I believe it does it for that one too, yeah. And for this little back one here, the opposite. We are going to want to disable the pitch. And the front ones, again, we'll just get rid of yaw on the front ones. So the only thing that really yaws us here is this little back fin. And again, I think it just helps for stability. Ah, and one more thing, I can't believe we almost forgot these. We need intakes. There's many different kinds. I think today we're just going to go ahead and use the... Where are they? Here they are. The radial air intakes. Now, let's see. I might get rid of some of these panels just so I can have room. Now, you can basically put these anywhere on the craft. I'm just going to put them up here. And copy. Maybe get a set to go underneath. For lots of intake. Now the more intake you have, the higher you'll be able to go in the atmosphere. And that's really, you know, you kind of want to be able to do the most amount of things with this as possible. So you kind of want to just want a lot of that intake in there. Alright, let's try it. I think that's all we need. I'm just trying to think if we need anything else. I think that's it. Let's give it a shot. We'll hit the launch here. I probably should have done a final check of the center of mass and thrust and lift, but I think it was okay when we last saw it, so let's see how we go. Okay. Now if we did this right, yes, okay, so if you see, I'm just going to hit the brake real quick, we are actually kind of like the front of the ship is pointed up, and that's kind of what you want. When you go to take off, because what that does is it just gives you like automatic lift. And so I kind of position these farther back, and they're a little bit lower than that front wheels, and that's exactly what we want. Alright, so we're just going to throttle up, and we're going to hit the space, and we're going to get this thing going here. I'm just going to press the W key, or sorry, the S key, just so we can get some automatic lift. And there we go. Hit the T key. Press the G key and get our gear to go in. And we're off. Bob Kerman in the pilot seat. And this thing is pretty stable, actually. It doesn't really want to flip out too much, which is good. You don't really want your ship to flip out. Now, let's say you had the center of lift too far in front, then what would happen is you'd go to pitch up like this and your craft would just flip right upside down, and it wouldn't be good. But see, mine, like this one's kind of staying, it's not really flipping out, which is that's perfect. That's what you want. Alright, we are up and about. So, you know, once you have this general craft, you can kind of fly anywhere. You take a look at the map here. Like, I just kind of pointed it where we started already going 90 degrees, but you could go north, south, any kind of way you want to go. Maybe you want to check out the desert over there, turn 270. But I think what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to try to land on that little secondary island over there. First, actually, I kind of want to see how high this thing will go before we lose all oxygen. Now, I pressed the resources. You can see intake air is 0.65 and falling. And the reason it's falling is as you get higher, the air gets thinner, and you're not able to, you know, use it as efficiently. I think the point at which it cuts out is like somewhere around 0.01 or 0.1, something like that. It's one of those. So I guess we'll find out. So I'm just kind of taking this thing up. We're at 10 kilometers now, so we're getting up there. Just want to see how high it could go before the intake stops working. We're almost pointing straight up here. So she's not a bad little craft. But what I think I will do is start pointing it down a little bit. But not so much that we fall, just down a little bit. And the reason is, the faster you go, the more your intake kind of works. It works a little bit better. So let's see if we can pick up some lateral velocity here. There's our little island that we wanted to land at. What I can do is I could just swing back around and hit it from the other side. Still ascending. Pretty fast. We're already 21 kilometers up. Intake's 0.05. Yeah, I think it's 0.01 is where it starts to have problems. Now, if you had multiple engines on here, you would really want to be careful when you're getting this high, because if one flames out but the other one stays on, you're going to start spinning around like crazy. But since we have only one engine, if we have a flame out, it's not going to be a big deal. We'll just descend a little bit, and what that'll do is kick them back into gear again. Oh, so we're starting to fall a little bit. I'm just going to see if I can pick this back up again, and it looks like it doesn't really want to. Maybe it's that these basic jet engines tend to really... They don't generally flame out. You just kind of hit a point where you don't go higher anymore. I think we're just about at that point. About 22 kilometers. So let's get down here a little bit. We'll kind of turn around, try to hit that island. It's 22 is not too bad. Pretty much pointing straight down. And you can barely hear that engine working because we're so high in the air. It's barely using any air. So let's just see if I can turn this thing. Very difficult to turn. Yep. She doesn't want to do it. Oh, look, we're actually getting a re-entry effect. Cool. Which is interesting, because I didn't think we were going that fast for that, but I guess we are. We're only at about Mach 2, barely even that. Whoa, whoa. Come on, baby, turn. Here we go. Now she's turning a little bit. It just takes a while to turn this thing. Just gonna lower the thrust a little bit. So what we don't want to do is crash. I don't have any mods installed where Kerbals have parachutes. There are mods where you can have like a little escape, like little jettison, and he'll float down to the surface with a parachute. But I don't have any of those mods installed right now. So if we crash, that's it. We lose Bob, and I don't want to lose Bob. So we'll be real careful here not to crash. Here we come. We turn around now. Coming around. Now to turn, I'm rolling using the E key, and then I'm pressing S. Now you can kind of try if you wanted to just yaw over using D, but I think that's kind of less stable. You lose some stability, and you also might have some kind of disaster. The ship may become unstable, so I just might keep using the roll and S. Roll and S. Here we are, we're back on course now. Basically just did a 180. Let's gain some more altitude. And the higher up you go, the more you can it's kind of easier to travel. Get there faster. You can see we're gaining altitude now by looking at the little puff of jet exhaust coming out. Now if you look at our fuel, liquid fuel 262 out of 300. We've barely even touched it. We've barely made a dent in it at all. And that's because the ISP again is, look at that, 1800 ISP. That's a whole 1,000 better than the atomic rocket engine. So it's very, very efficient. You barely use that fuel at all. Alright, we're coming in here. Also, another thing to keep in mind too is that when you start burning fuel, that center of mass is going to start moving backwards, like closer towards your center of lift. So let's say you've been flying around for a long time and you got barely any fuel left, you're going to want to be careful when you're pitching up, because what'll happen is you'll start to flip upside down because your center of mass and center of lift are too close. And that's what you don't want. So you know, if you feel like you're a little uneven, you can always come back in here and rebalance your fuel by alt-clicking and alt-right-clicking rather. You can move the fuel around to kind of like help that center of mass again. Alright, we're getting there. Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised at how stable this thing flies. It's not too bad. Not bad at all. Let's check out inside the cockpit here. Pilot's view. Nice, I believe that's Minmus up there. Oh wow. Wow, these cockpits really have a hell of a zoom, don't they? I mean, look at that. You can't see Minmus that closely unless you're right next to it. Jeez. There's the sun. That's just too much. Well, there it is. Okay, it looks like we're coming close to our little landing spot. Let's start getting ready to get there. We're just going to lower our altitude. There we are. We're dropping now. That's what you want. You don't want to be too high when you're coming in for a landing, obviously, right? You're going to want to just slowly get down to the proper altitude. And if you go in our cockpit, we have all the necessary gauges and tools and whatnot. Just like in the rockets, we have our altitude to sea level indicator, we have our radar altimeter. This is your vertical speed, so it's saying we're descending at 100 meters per second. I think that's what that's saying. So we're falling pretty fast. Let's kind of level up. We'll level out here. This is a tricky runway to land on. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't, so this is going to be interesting. I guess we're going to find out. Bob, it's time to test your might. We could do a little zoom in here. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. So I think I just might start throttling down to 2/3. Because again, you don't want to come screaming in there. As soon as you touch down, the whole thing's going to flip out. Just going to make sure we're lined up. Looks like we're heading a little to the left. Just going to throttle down even more. 2/3 or 1/3 rather. Let's make sure we're lined up. That runway, just tweaking it ever so slightly. I might even just go right down to practically 0 thrust. Put our landing gear out. Get a little bit lower. Oh, not too low. Just hoping to bleed that speed right off. Oh, we're coming a little too... Alright, here we come. We're a little bit fast, but let's just see what happens. Hit the brake. Brake, 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 brake. Nope, 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 nope. Oh dear. Oh god. Okay. Okay. So that is not how you land. What happened there was we came in a bit too hot. I should have been throttling down way before that, but hey, there's our intakes. They survived. Unfortunately, Bob did not survive. Oh, something else just exploded. If you guys ever check out this area and you do get to land on it, you can actually go in and walk up these stairs, and get inside here, it's kind of like an abandoned little space thing here. And if you go into these hangars, there's a couple little Easter eggs in there that I won't spoil for you guys. I'll let you kind of figure it out. But I hope you've liked this little tutorial on how to build an atmosphere-breathing little space plane. Again, it wasn't the name was deceptive. It wasn't exactly a space plane. I think we'll save that one for next time when we build an SSTO craft. In other words, single stage to orbit craft. But until then, have a good one.